Devaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasa Tato Jayamudhirayet. Before one reads from this holy scripture, one should pay their humble obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the highest human being, Narayana Rishi, Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and Vyasadeva, the compiler of the Bhagavatam. So we are reading today from the fourth canto, the creation of the fourth order, chapter 7, the sacrifice performed by Daksha, text 45. Is it there on the board? Okay. Today is 45, no? So it's just not on the board. Okay, so you have to pay them better attention. We'll still do word by word recitation. Brahmanam Uchuhu Tvang Gratus Tvang Havis Tvang Huta Shaha Swayang Tvam Hi Mantraha Samid Darbha Patrani Cham Tvang Sadasyar Tvijo Dampati Devata Agnihotram Swadha Somam Ajjam Pashuhu. Word by word. Brahmanaham, the Brahmanas. Uchuhu, said. Tvam, you. Kratuhu, sacrifice. Tvam, you. Havihi, offering of clarified butter. Tvam, you. Huta Ashaham, fire. Swayam, personified. Tvam, you. He, for. Mantraha, the Vedic hymns. Samit Darba, Patrani, the fuel, the kusha grass, and the sacrificial pots. Cham, and. Tvam, you. Sadasya, the members of the assembly. Ridvijayah, the priests. Dampati, the chief person of the sacrifice, and his wife. Devata, demigods. Agnihotram, the sacred fire ceremony. Swadha, the offering of the forefathers, to the forefathers. Somaha, the soma plant. Ajjam, the clarified butter. Pashuhu, the sacrificial animal. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Brahmana said, Dear Lord, you are sacrifice personified. You are the offering of clarified butter. You are the fire. You are the chanting of Vedic hymns by which the sacrifice is conducted. You are the fuel. You are the flame. You are the kusha grass, and you are the sacrificial pots. You are the priests who perform the yajna. You are the demigods headed by Indra, and you are the sacrificial animal. Everything that is sacrificed is you or your energy. Purport. In this statement, Lord Vishnu's all-pervasiveness is partially explained. It is said in the Vishnu Purana that as the fire situated in one place emanates its heat and illumination everywhere, so whatever we see within the material or spiritual worlds is nothing but a manifestation of different energies emanating from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Brahmana's statement is that Lord Vishnu is everything: the fire, the offering, the clarified butter, the utensils, the place of sacrifice, and the kusha. He is everything. It is confirmed herein that the performance of Sankirtan Yajna in this age is as good as all the other yajnas in all other ages. If one performs Sankirtan Yajna by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, there is no need to arrange elaborate paraphernalia for the prescribed sacrificial ceremonies recommended in the Vedas. In the chant of the holy names, Hare Krishna and Rama, Hare means the energy of Krishna, and Krishna is the Vishnu Tattva. Combined together, they are everything. In this age, persons are harassed by the influence of Kali Yuga and cannot arrange for all the requisite paraphernalia for performing sacrifice as recommended in the Vedas. But if one simply chants Hare Krishna, it is to be understood that he is performing all kinds of yajna, because there is nothing within our vision except Hare, the energy cause. Sorry. I'll read this sentence again. But if one simply chants Hare Krishna, it is to be understood that he is performing all kinds of yajna, because there is nothing within our vision except Hare, in brackets, the energy of Krishna, and Krishna. There is no difference between Krishna and his energies. Thus, since everything is a manifestation of his energy, it is to be understood that everything is Krishna. One simply has to accept everything in Krishna consciousness, and he is a liberated person. One should not misunderstand that because everything is Krishna, Krishna has no personal identity. Krishna is so full that in spite of keeping himself separate from everything by his energy, he is everything. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9th chapter. He is spread throughout the creation as everything, but still he is not everything. This philosophy, recommended by Lord Chaitanya, is that he is simultaneously one and different. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Gyanangyana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Namo Prabhupada Priyadasaya Jagannatha Yatra Nandamurtaye Bhakta Sukaya Krishnot Kirtanena Nrsinghena Rakshataya Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyade Shatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Sankarshana Karanato Yashai Garbhodashai Chapayobdishai Sheshascha Kala Sanityananda Kyarama Sharanam Mamastu Namo Mahavaranjaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Ghoratvise Namaha Namaste Halagraha Namaste Mushalayuda Namaste Rivatikanta Namaste Bhaktavatsala Namaste Dharanidhara Namaste Balaram Shashta pralambare namastistve himam Krishna purvaja. He Krishna karuna sindhu dinabandho jagatpate gopesha gopipakanta radhakanta namastate jayatam surato pangor mamamanda matirgati matsarvasva padambojo radhamadana mohanao divyadvrindaranya kalpadru mada Śrīmad-Radhangara simhasanasto Śrīmad-Radha Śrīla Govinda Deva O Prashtalivi Samana Smarami Śrīmad-Rasa-Rasaramvi Vamsivataratasthitaha Karsham Veno Swanar Gopir Gopinata Shriyestunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Once again the verse. Brahmana uchuhu. You have to repeat. Tvam kratustvam havistvam hutasha swayam tvam hi mantra samit dharva patranicha tvam sadas yart vijo dampati devata agnihotram svada soma agnyam pashuhu. The Brahmana said, Dear Lord, you are sacrifice personified. You are the offering of clarified butter. You are the fire, you are the chanting of Vedic hymns by which the sacrifice is conducted. You are the fuel, you are the flames, you are the kusha grass, and you are the sacrificial pots. You are the priests who perform the yajna. You are the demigods headed by Indra, and you are the sacrificial animal. Everything that is sacrificed is you or your energy. So it's interesting because we already had, so we are reading now in the 4th chapter, 7th chapter, called the sacrifice performed by Daksha, and we are now at this very interesting sequence. I think there's 2 or 3 sequences like this in the Bhagavatam, where after successful yajna, fire ceremony, Vishnu personally appears. So he actually personally appears, manifests with multiple arms, and Garuda, he comes. You know? So that's, then you for sure know the yajna was successful. You know? Sometimes you might perform a yajna and you might not be sure if it was successful or not. And, or you perform arati, seva to Lord Nrsimhadev, and the only reconciliation to make sure at least we didn't make a mistake is we chant the aparada shodashanini. So we chant mantras to ask for forgiveness. And then I feel like, okay, maybe it was not all correct, but at least I'm praying to Krishna, accept it. But this is of course the ultimate proof that it was successful if actually Vishnu literally appears, you know, manifests at the end of the yajna, and gives blessings and talks to usually the one who performed the yajna is directly addressed by the Lord. And then all the great personalities that are attending have a chance to offer prayers. You know, sometimes as groups and sometimes individually. So we had before the Vidyadharas, which are heavenly inhabitants, the Gandharvas, the musicians of the demigods. Then all the present demigods also made prayers. Agni himself, and then before we saying Brahmavacha. So Brahmavacha were the personified Vedas, and here we have Brahmana Uchuhu, which sounds very similar. So this is now the actual Brahmanas. The Brahmanas said, and it's interesting because in each of these prayers they are praying from their perspective also. And of course the Brahmanas, their main duty is to perform, in Vedic age, to perform yajna, to always, maintain the fire. You know, many Brahmanas maintain the fire always burning, at their place. And it's one of the main duties of the Brahmana to ignite, the holy fire and to make oblations into the fire. So the Brahmanas are praying and saying that everything is the Lord. You are the sacrificial fire, you are the offerings, the ghee, you are the chanting of the mantras, you are the flame, the fuel, the kusha grass, the pots, the priests, you are the yajna, you are the demigods headed by Indra, and you are even the sacrificial animal. And Srila Prabhupada warns towards the end of the purport one mistake one might make when one hears such a description. And Srila Prabhupada said one should not misunderstand that because everything is Krishna, Krishna has no personal identity. Yeah? So this is the common mistake. Because everything is Krishna, then Krishna, you could say, reduces value. Because anyway, everything is Krishna, you know. So you might as well worship a table, you know, or whatever, you know. But the way Srila Prabhupada describes it is very genius. I haven't heard it like this before. And he says, Krishna is so full. So this is of course a reference to the invocation of the Ishopanishad. Krishna is so full that in spite of keeping himself separate from everything, by his energy, he is everything. So that's the word Purnam is used there in the Ishopanishad. So the complete whole always remains in balance. It's always full, you know. Usually if you take something away from something, then it becomes less. But Krishna has this, or Srila Prabhupada describes in general, the spiritual atmosphere is that 1 + 1 is 1 and 1 - 1 is 1. You know? So that's the mathematical formula that Srila Prabhupada uses. And it's very practical because you can understand it never changes actually. You know? So many things emanate from the spiritual reality. You know? Thousands of different forms of Vishnu. First Balaram, then the Chaturvyuha, then all the Vaikuntha forms of Narayana, then the second Chaturvyuha, then Mahavishnu, Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, Mahadev, all the demigods, all the incarnations, and Krishna is still completely untouched by all of it in the spiritual world. And this is of course also described in the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which for many people when they first read it, it's confusing. Unfortunately I didn't memorize this verse, but this verse also says, you know, I am in everything. Krishna is speaking directly in first about himself. He's saying, you know, while I'm everything and I'm in everything, I'm not everything. You know? Everything is in me, but still I am beyond it. You know? So, you know the verse? Yeah. And translation? Yeah. Yeah. So, but the same point is Prabhupada is also making, the 9th chapter, and he's referring to this verse, that we should clearly understand the philosophy that we are representing, the Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that everything is simultaneously one and different. And one time when I was teaching, I was developing a curriculum to teach yoga students. I started searching for Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, and I was surprised that in Wikipedia it's listed. You know? So there is a table of all the different traditional philosophies, you know, and it's a very nice table because the table in Wikipedia has, you know, all the main philosophies, you know, Advaita, Advaita Vimamsa, Shuddha-Advaita from Madhvacharya, and also some other, you know, additional traditions. But each one of these traditions has like categories, you know, who were the main acharyas or proponents in this tradition, what kind of ideas they develop, what kind of philosophy, what kind of text they used as reference, and what kind of text they produced. You know? So it's very interesting to see it, basically Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva compared to all the other philosophies that preceded it, and there are of course some also that came afterwards, like I don't know, Kashmiri Shaivaism or something like that. And what was very interesting was to see how prominent Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva actually is. There's so many books. So it's basically the philosophy we are following is the most prominent in relating to how many acharyas were involved, how many scriptures were produced, and the ideas that were produced. And especially, of course, Srila Prabhupada very often in his purports, he's talking how it, of course, was actually a divine plan, a big plan, and you could say philosophical evolution plan to first discredit the ritualistic Vedas. So first Buddha comes and he discredits the ritualistic Vedas, because they went off track, and instead of doing it, with the consciousness that these brahmanas have, that everything is Krishna, they used it as an excuse to basically commit animal slaughter, and enjoy the flesh. So Buddha, in compassion with the animals, especially, but ultimately, for this plan to manifest, rejects the Vedas. Rejects the Vedas and introduces a new set of, you could say, moral atheism. It is moral, it is based on compassion and goodness, but it's atheistic. So that's Buddha. Shunyavadi, emptiness, nirvana, and based on the teachings of Buddha, later on Shankaracharya reintroduced the Vedas. Singare Bhagwan ki jai. So Shankaracharya reintroduces the Vedas, and scholars very often called even Shankaracharya the hidden Buddha, because he was basically teaching Buddhist philosophy, but showing that all the teachings that Buddha spoke actually have a source in the Vedas. And of course we accept Buddha as one of the avatars of Vishnu, a Shaktavesha avatar, and therefore of course whatever he was speaking is ultimately inspired by the divine. And with the only difference that Shankaracharya introduced the idea of oneness. So the basic ideas are the same, only Shankaracharya emphasized oneness, and he coined the sentence Jagan Mithya Brahma Satya. So this world is false and Brahman is truth. Only Brahman is real and this whole world is false. Very clear cut. Everything we see here is false. The bodies we have, the shape we have, the desires we have, everything that we see and exists is false, and only Brahman is real. Which in one sense is true, but of course can be easily misunderstood. And then we have the introduction of the Vedanta also. So of course Shankaracharya based his entire presentation on the Vedanta, but what some, or especially in the Western scholars, were first introduced to Shankara's Vedanta, and therefore they're usually not aware about the Vedanta explanations of the Vaishnava Acharyas. And of course we have especially Madhvacharya and Ramanujacharya. So first Ramanujacharya, he introduced qualified monism, qualified oneness, and this is very easily explained if you use the analogy of a screen. So we have a screen there, so you can pull the screen down, and the screen is all white. It's one. It's homogeneous. Ideally, ours is a little bit stained from the yagyas, but usually the screen is completely, one color, and there is no distinction. So you could say the screen is Brahman. It's Satya. It's true. It's one. It's homogeneous. There's no distinction, no variety. But then you can put a projector and project a movie on that screen. So when the movie is projected on the screen, then suddenly there is variety. So Shankara's idea would be, even all of this seems real, ultimately there is nothing but the screen. The screen is real, This is only a projection. It's a dream. It's not real. It's not true. But Ramanujacharya went one step further and developed this philosophy further, saying there's qualified monism. So basically, yes, the whatever movies is being displayed there, this is not true. But the people who are there, they are true people. They're just playing a character which is not themselves. Like, I don't know, if there's like say a movie about pirates, for all pirate movies, the people, they go to the big cities of the world, and they collect the coolest freaks they can find. If you have big rastas and piercings, then you're a good pirate. You can come, and then you become part of the movie, and you become a pirate. But in reality, you're probably just a DJ in Berlin or something. So like that. So there is a projection of what a theater we're playing. We're all playing different roles, according to the bodies we have, according to the identifications that we have. We play different roles, but that's not who we really are. So in a similar way, like the real actor actually exists somewhere. It's not that he's not a pirate. He's very lovely and nice person in reality. In the same way, we are now playing certain roles, but in reality we have our original identity. So this is qualified monism. We have qualified identity and personality. We're just not sure who that is. So, and of course, Ramanujacharya was a Sri Vaishnava, and he would identify as servants of the Lord. We are servants of the Lord. And Madhvacharya is more radical. He completely rejects, because actually this is something which is historically true. I forgot where I read it exactly, but in some of the books about Yamunacharya, there were explanations how some of the Sri Vaishnavas, they sometimes tend to develop Mayavadi tendencies, because it's very close. The philosophy is relatively close, and some they worship Vishnu, they display the Vaishnava tilak, but actually in their convictions, they're actually not really Vaishnavas. This is really something surprising for me. Of course, many of them are great Vaishnavas and great devotees, but because it's philosophically close, some people tend to swing back. So that would not happen to a follower of Madhvacharya. It's impossible, because Madhvacharya was basically, you could say, his danda as a sannyasi was an axe against Mayavadi philosophy, Dvaita. So Mayavadi, Ramanuja's philosophy was Advaita, and he Dvaita, Shuddha Dvaita, pure dualism. So he completely emphasized the difference between the inner reality, Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, internal, external reality or energy, and the difference between the Anu Atma, which is us, small, tiny particles, and the Vibhu Atma, the huge, universal, Supreme Lord. He emphasized, the activities also, activities that are sinful or materialistic, selfish, disconnected from spiritual reality, and devotional activities that are completely transcendental and spiritual. So he emphasized this complete duality. Everything is dual, and there's no confusion that basically you could say, because like this verse, it seems a little bit confusing. It's like, yeah, everything is Krishna. So that was discouraged by Madhvacharya. On the other hand, what he did is in the tradition of Madhvacharya, they consider all demigods to be direct expansions of Vishnu. So they worship all the demigods, but they don't worship the demigods, they worship Vishnu. They consider them all to be avatars of Vishnu. That's another way how he created a very clear, there's no demigods, they're all Vishnu. You can only worship Vishnu because they're all ultimately avatars of Vishnu. Like that. But there's one interesting section of the Bhagavatam that the followers of Madhvacharya do not like. You know which section? Is the Brahma Vimohana Lila. So the Brahma Vimohana Lila is the pastime where Brahma is seeing Krishna, as a small boy, eating with his left hand, And he's like, this can't be the Supreme Person, I'm not sure, It's too childish, it's a little bit too random, he's not sure. So he has this doubt, so he steals all the calves, and hides them away in a cave, And this is in Brahma's time, so he puts them in a cave, and he looks back, and they're all still there. It's like, what? I just took them away, So, of course, in one moment of Brahma, one whole year, passed on earth. So he looks back in the cave, and he's like confused, There are two sets now. And then, of course, Krishna, all the calves, all the cowherd boys, all the cows, they're all, manifest their Vishnu form. And Brahma realizes, his confusion, vimohana, he was an illusion. So the followers of Madhvacharya do not like that, because Madhvacharya, Brahma is the Adi Guru of the Brahma Sampradaya, So this Leela puts, our Adi Guru, you could say, in a bad light, So, and you could say, in one sense, because of this, strong idea of Dvaita philosophy, it's not so easy to reconcile, apparent mistake of Brahma, But Srila Prabhupada describes this and never makes a problem out of it. But in the Madhva Sampradaya, they avoid this chapter. It's Guru Aparada to read this chapter, basically. So, what is the difference? Is because when you make everything very separated, you emphasize the duality, then it's in one sense very similar to the Semitic idea of God. It means Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. In the Semitic idea, God is, all powerful, and we are all sinful. So there's like there's this huge distance, that is developed, between the divine and us. We are just, nitya bhadas, always condemned, and you could say we have always been. It's of course a big discussion, were we in the spiritual world or not? But the point is still there. If you emphasize Dvaita philosophy, it's not so easy to bridge the gap between you, which is so small, and Vibhu Atma, who is so big and so amazing. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, created the conclusion. He took all of these ideas and summarized it, and of course, the followers, especially the six Goswamis of Vrindavana, based on the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, emphasized Achintya Beda Abheda Tattva. So it's basically a combination of all of this. So this beginning with Buddha, it's a philosophical evolution that India experienced. Culminating in the presentation of Achintya Beda Beda Tattva by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers. And if you look at this table, it's visible how profound this philosophy is. There's so many texts written about it. All the especially Jiva Goswami was very, very proficient, establishing Krishna, the Bhagavatam, and Tattva Sandarbha as a supreme person, and Bhagavatam as a supreme source of knowledge and revelation. And yes, so it's a very, you could say, Brahma, Buddha, emphasize zero, then Madhvacharya emphasized oneness, Madhvacharya emphasized duality, two, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said it's one and two at the same time. So in short summary. And when we have this understanding, then it's much more easy to wrap our heads around completely contradictory, apparent contradictions, And of course it's contradictory only if we presume that the Lord has the limitations that we have, because we can't do that, We can't be at the lecture and at the same time in the kitchen, You can, but then you're not a lecturer, Then you're thinking about the kitchen. Like they said, when you're driving car, of course there's different layers of this, but basically usually you should always chant Hare Krishna, So some book distributors are always chanting Hare Krishna, also when they're driving car. But there's a difference if you're chanting, kirtan, or you're trying to do your japa while on the wheel. So, Mahajita Prabhu was always saying, so either you're endangering traffic because you're chanting very good japa, and you're very absorbed in the japa, or, you're absorbed in the japa and just, somehow, chanting you're absorbed in the traffic and chanting your japa as a side activity. So we're not very good, at extending ourselves. It says that ladies are much better at multitasking, they have this apparent ability, but we're always limited, of course, physically, So Krishna does not have that limitation, So these verses, this purports, should make us aware of how amazing Krishna actually is. He's able to be completely absorbed in his lila in the spiritual world, while his energies, his agencies are controlling everything, everything, beginning with Balaram, like I explained before, then all his Narayana forms, then the forms of Vishnu that are facing towards this material reality, the three main forms, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, Karanadakashaya Vishnu, and Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. And all of this is happening, Krishna says in the Gita also, but with a fraction of his energy. So actually, most of his energy, he's investing in the relationships with his devotees in Vrindavan. And only a small fraction of his energy is needed or utilized to maintain, to manage the entire material creation. So, this is difficult for us to understand, but the simple way to get an idea about it is understanding that Krishna is both Hare Krishna. So that's the point Srila Prabhupada is making then in the purport. So Hare and Krishna is everything. How is it everything? Because you could say Krishna is everything, but in reality Hare Krishna is everything. Krishna without Hare, something very vital is missing. So Hare is the energy of Krishna, and Krishna is the energetic. So that's the technical term Srila Prabhupada uses. The energetic, who possesses the energy, who emanates the energies, and the energies that emanate from him. And all of this are eternally existent. So Hare Krishna literally contains everything. Everything is there. There's nothing besides that or outside, because it contains everything. Krishna is the source, and Radharani is the Shakti, the energy. So everything that we experience energetically is an expansion of Radharani as well. So I just read the sentence Srila Prabhupada uses. In the chant of the holy names, Hare and Krishna, Hare means the energy of Krishna, and Krishna is the Vishnu Tattva. Combined together, they are everything. So you could say there is a gradual process of acquiring perfection, and a gradual process of acquiring perfection requires a lot of hard work. A lot of hard work to qualify yourself karmically. So if you're karmically, have a good background, then you will be born in a family that is conducive to your spiritual practice. So most of us already missed that boat. We were not born in a situation that was ideal. Of course, we're all born in Kali Yuga. That's the first point Prabhupada is making here. We are harassed by the influence in Kali Yuga. So because we are harassed by this, influence, Bhakti-Bhushan Maharaj calls, because that's in Spanish, Kali Yugueros, we're Kali Yuga types, you know, Kali Yugeros, and we have a certain, you know, tendency, you know. Even we mean good, we end up doing strange stuff sometimes, you know. So the gradual process of really making, you could say, step-by-step advancement is very complicated actually. And we were talking before about the Madhva Sampradaya, and they have this idea. You know? So the idea in Madhva Sampradaya, as far as I understood it, is that you gradually qualify from one life to the other. You know? So in the Varnashrama Dharma, that would mean if you're a Shudra, you know, you're really lucky, you know, you're born as a Shudra within the Vedic system. And then you're a good Shudra, you will be born as a Vaishya in your next life. You know? You're a good Vaishya, then you will be born as a Kshatriya in your next life. You're a good Kshatriya, then you will be born as a Brahman in your next life. You know? And then if you're a good Brahmana, you perform all the sacrifices correctly, then you will be elevated, you know, to the higher planetary systems, ultimately to Brahma Loka. You know? And then you're in Brahma Loka, you know, with the Adi Guru, Brahma himself, and you live as long as Brahma lives until the end of the universe. And when Brahma dies, you also die, and only then you attain transcendence. So that takes a long, long time. And, you know, of course you are not allowed to make any mistakes in between, you know. Imagine a video game, you know, and you know video games which have levels, you know, and some levels are difficult, you know, and you have to do the same level many times, you know, until you finally. And if you do too many mistakes in one level, then you fall down back to the first level. You're like, no, again from the beginning. So the idea of the Maha Mantra, or the special blessing that we have in Kali Yuga, is that we can connect to the source directly. You know, Hare Krishna is invocative. You know, in Sanskrit there is, I think, I know in German there's 4 grammatical cases. I think in Sanskrit there is 6 or 9. I forgot. But vocative means when you see a Hara becomes Hare or Hari becomes Hare, it's a direct speech, you know. So there are like mantras which, you know, are very, you could say, like these mantras, you know, all of these mantras are, oh dear Lord, please accept all the humble obeisances, and they're glorifying. You are the fire, you are the sacrifice, you are the pots, you are the brahmanas, you are the hymns, you know. So very formal, you know. But the Hare Krishna mantra is like as if you were standing in front of Krishna and you're calling, you know, Krishna, you know, directly, you know, no formality. There is no, oh sir, you know, or my lord, you know, or Shri, you know, or Namaste, or Namaha, you know. Namaha is a very clear sign, you know, you offer respect. There's nothing like that in the mantra. It's purely the names of Radha and Krishna, you know, the original energy and the original energetic combined, you know, technically speaking. But of course, ultimately, they're not just energetic and energy. They're Radha and Krishna. You know, they're 2 persons. You know, the supreme couple, the divine couple. You know, the origin of all pleasure. You know, standing right there in front of you. You know, dancing on your tongue when you're chanting. So it's inconceivable how potent it is. But it is so potent that we don't have to, you know, go through this gradual process of elevating ourselves, you know. If we take shelter of the holy name, we can directly connect with Radha and Krishna. You know? And we can understand this by this verse in the Brahma Samhita, where it says, Yam Shyama Shundaram Tribang Lalitam, what's it called? No, Prakasham. So this form of Shyama Sundara becomes visible, Premanjita, Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. When our eyes, you could also say, you know, all our senses ultimately, purified by the holy name, you know, and figuratively speaking, when our eyes are smeared with premanjana, you know, with the ointment, with the medicine of Krishna Prema, you know, then within our heart we can directly see Shyama Sundara. You know. So Shyama Sundara is there in the heart. You know, generally we speak of Antaryami or Paramatma, the super soul is in the heart, you know. But ultimately, if you have Premanjana, you know, by chanting the holy names, by purifying our senses, the more we engage our senses in Krishna service, all our senses will become premanjana, they will become cured, by this prema anjana, this prema medicine, and we will be able to directly see Radha and Krishna, Shyama Sundara, in our heart. He's there already, just waiting for us to see. And every day we are chanting, every day we are, trying to talk to him. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this is called, Srila Prabhupada calls it that the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is actually like a child crying for its mother. So, and we're crying for this mother Hara to take us back into her custody. So, when you see, you might have seen a movie or heard about, an orphan. An orphan has no parents, and when there is a couple that take interest in adopting that child, it's incredible. And you see this child, realize, they want to take custody of me, So they, so in a similar way, we are orphaned now in the material world, We're not sure who will give us shelter. But our shelter is Radha and Krishna, and like an orphan crying, to be taken into custody, We should cry, we should chant the holy names, and the process is very simple actually. We are, of course, trapped in a material body, and this material body has material senses, and this material senses will be by default, because of the false ego, be drawn outwards. So the false ego is this very subtle energy that is telling us everything you need, everything you are, everything you want is outside. Outside. Look this, look that. And of course nowadays we have cell phones and we have so much advertisement. So of course here in the Bavarian forest we don't have advertisement. But when I came to India the first time, I remember Vrindavan was still, there was no trucks on the parikrama path, There was still sand. Then 3 years later, there was asphalt. 3 years later, there was everywhere billboards. And 3 years later, everybody had a cell phone. And then we knew Kali Yuga had arrived in Vrindavan. So it goes very fast, So in the Bavarian forest, we might not have advertisement, but we have cell phones. And we have our minds, So the problem is that the external reality is, of course, never satisfactory. Whatever we find in the outside will never truly satisfy us. So we need to learn that the external realities or the arrangements we have externally should be there for survival. So we need to eat. We need to sleep. We need to heat. We need to do everything we need to do for survival. But not with the expectation that by acquiring all of these securities, we will be happy. So that's our fault. We think the more I have money, security, power, nice house, popularity, followers, whatever it might be, we think that that will give us actual happiness. But of course it doesn't. It doesn't give us happiness. It doesn't give us fulfillment. Why? Because it's on the outside. It's external, and it's the false ego telling us that that's real, but it's not real. Even our names, our bodies, it's all temporary. So Hare Krishna, is an attempt to take shelter of Antaranga Shakti, Hladini Shakti, and where is that? Inside. So Bahiranga Shakti is the external world, and Antaranga Shakti is the internal world. And it's all inside there, much bigger than the external world. From our vantage point, we have the feeling, it's not so much happening inside, because it's not yet happening, or the fire is very small, and outside, look what's going on there, there's so much to do, to see, to achieve. But in reality, conditioned souls are in a minority, That's good news, We're a minority. Most living entities, it says 3/4, So 3/4. 1 is in Maya, 3 are chanting Hare Krishna always. You could say. So 3/4, are in the spiritual reality. 1/4 is in the material world. That's the proportion given in the Shastras. So we need to reconnect to this spiritual reality. It's there. It's inside. It's a very simple, very powerful indication. Therefore, japa, so important. Japa means we try to really focus at least for 2 hours a day. Of course, kirtaniya sada hari. You could do it always also. But a minimum of 2 hours, minimum of 16 rounds, we try to really focus into the internal reality and take shelter of Radharani. Oh Mother, please give us shelter. So this is the power of the Mahamantra. We can directly connect with internal reality. She is the origin of all internal realities. She is Hladini Shakti also. Hladini Shakti, there are 3 Shaktis: Hladini Shakti, Samvit Shakti, and Sandhini Shakti. And Hladini Shakti is the most important among those 3 because she relates to Ananda. The other 2 relate to Sat and Chit, to consciousness and eternity. It's also the nature of the soul. But Radharani is Hladini Shakti. She gives Hlada, Ananda, spiritual bliss, true bliss. Even a small morsel, of that bliss, even a small, a shadow of the holy name already can be so powerful. And that's what we are trying to achieve. That's what we are taking shelter of. So yes, we're doing every day. We're taking shelter of the Hare Krishna mantra. And you could say, philosophically speaking, what we're doing is to, when we chant Hare Krishna, we ask to be given entrance and shelter in the internal reality, while at the same time the mind and the senses are pulling us outwards. So that's our daily exercise. The mind and the false ego are pointing outwards, and we have to realize that the true ego, is behind the false ego, and it's inside. Ego is real. False ego means it's not real, obviously. But when we say false ego, when Prabhupada says false ego, it's a very powerful indicator that there is real ego. As opposed to the idea in monism or Buddhism where we need to kill the ego. We don't want to kill the ego. If you kill the ego, you have no way to serve and love. So we need to realize the only difference is that the false ego is pointing outwards, and the real ego, it's pointing inwards. So, and the mind is just a vessel. Or you could say, the mind will do the beating of the prominent ego. If the false ego is prominent, the mind will be focused outwards. If the real ego becomes prominent, the mind will be your best friend, and focus inward. Okay, I'll stop here. Grantara Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Maybe there's any questions, comments. Okay, then we'll go take prasadam. Nisingari Bhagavana ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai.